There was a time when they barely noticed you. Your messages, your calls, your care. It was all just there, like background noise. You were always around, always available, so they never stopped to think about what it meant to have you in their life. But now, something has changed. They sit quietly, looking at old messages, reading words they once ignored. There is an emptiness where you used to be, a space that feels strange, unfamiliar, uncomfortable. They thought it would be easy to move on. They thought you were replaceable. But the truth is, we don't really feel the weight of loss until the silence becomes too loud. People don't value things that are always there. We don't notice the sun until winter comes. We don't think about water until we're thirsty. And in relationships, we often don't realize what we had until it's already gone. When you were around, they had control. They could take their time, answer when they felt like it, pull away without fear, because they knew you would always be there. But now there's nothing. No messages waiting for them, no calls, no presence in the background, just silence. And silence can be powerful. It forces them to think. It forces them to remember. And that's when the regret starts creeping in. They start to recall the way you cared, the way you were there when they needed someone, the way you made them feel safe. The little things they once overlooked now seem impossible to replace. Why does it hurt now? Because you were real. And in a world full of temporary people, real is rare. Most people panic when they feel ignored. They beg, they chase, they try to prove their worth. But that's a mistake. A person who knows their value doesn't beg for someone to see it. They don't waste time explaining their worth. They simply walk away and let time do the talking. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know the truth." What really matters isn't how someone treats you when they think you'll always be there. It's how much they miss you when you're gone. People don't realize the value of gold until they've traded it for cheap metal. They don't miss the warmth of the sun until they're standing in the cold. And they don't appreciate a good person until they're left with nothing but memories. So if they didn't value you, don't try to change their mind. Don't chase, don't explain. Just step away and let them feel the loss. Because some people only learn the hard way. And when they finally understand what they had, it will hit them hard. Because some losses aren't about what's taken away. They're about what can never be replaced. If this message speaks to you, take a deep breath and remind yourself, you are worth more than being someone's afterthought. Stand tall, move forward, and never let anyone make you feel like you need to prove your value. Before you go, I have something important for you. Say this with me. I know my worth. Let this be your reminder. Let this be your truth. If you feel this message, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell icon so you never miss another video. And before you leave, drop a comment below. I know my worth. Let's fill the comments with strength and confidence. Stay strong, stay real, and never forget, you are irreplaceable. 1. Time reveals what comfort hides. Most people don't truly appreciate something until it's gone. It's not that they're cruel, it's human nature. When something is constant, it blends into the background. It feels permanent, predictable, and unchanging. You were always there, and so they assumed you always would be. They didn't think twice about your presence, not because they wanted to hurt you, but because they got comfortable. They believed, like many do, that what is familiar will always remain. But that belief is where they went wrong. Time is never promised. Neither is a person who knows their worth. When you finally walk away, it's not to punish them, and it's not a game. It's a decision to no longer tolerate being undervalued. And when that happens, they are left to confront a truth they never expected. You were never as permanent as they assumed. At first, they brush it off. They'll be back, they tell themselves. After all, you've always returned before. They convince themselves it's just another cycle, just another pause, and soon things will go back to normal. But days turn into weeks, and then silence replaces the comfort of your presence. That silence is a mirror. In the quiet, they start to see the moments they missed. They scroll through old messages, replay memories, and suddenly, what they once ignored becomes what they long for the most. The good morning texts they took for granted. The way you listened when no one else did. The patience, the care, the consistency. They weren't entitled to any of it, but they assumed they were. And now they feel the absence of what they once believed would always be there. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." The Stoic man understands this not just about life, but also about relationships. Nothing is promised. You're not a permanent fixture in someone else's world. You are a choice. And when someone stops seeing your value, you have the power to leave. Not with anger, not to make them beg, but with quiet dignity. Questions will flood their mind. What happened? Why did they leave? Will they come back? But the answer is simple. You didn't leave because they made one mistake. You left because you know your worth isn't something to be begged for. You are not a guarantee. You are a gift, and gifts are given, not owed. The wise man does not stay where he is unseen. He does not cling to those who only appreciate him in hindsight. He does not beg for recognition. He walks away, understanding that sometimes the most powerful statement is made not in words, but in absence. Metaphorically, think of the sun. When it shines every day, people barely notice. But when the sun disappears behind dark clouds, when coldness creeps in, only then do people miss its warmth. That's what your presence was. You weren't just there, you were their light. They only notice now because that warmth is gone. And in that silence, as they sit in reflection, they realize they were never entitled to you. The morning texts were a privilege. The way you showed up when no one else did was a choice. Your patience, your kindness, your loyalty, none of it was owed. They thought they had endless time, but time ran out. The man who knows his value does not stay to wait for delayed appreciation. He does not plead for someone to see what they ignored. He leaves with grace, knowing that those who truly see his worth will cherish him before he's gone, not after. And to those who only realize what they lost in the quiet of his absence, it is too late. He has already moved on, because time waits for no one, and neither does a man who understands his worth. 2. Your absence shouts, the brutal echo of loss. Life goes on, and they remain busy, filled with friends, work, and everyday distractions. Yet slowly, the weight of your absence starts to settle in. At first, they might feel a small relief, thinking they needed space, or that something new would fill the gap. But as days pass, the quiet truth becomes clear. The little things you brought into their life are missing. The warmth of your voice, the comfort of your presence, the way you made them feel secure and understood. These are gone, replaced by an emptiness that grows with each silent moment. They may wonder, why does it hurt so much now? Did I really need that space? The mind can be a tricky thing. Initially, change may feel refreshing, even necessary. Yet over time, reality peels back the layers of that illusion. The laughter with new friends, The brief conversations with strangers, and even the noise of a crowded room can never fill the gap left by something so meaningful. In those quiet moments, they start to understand that nothing can replace the genuine care and connection you offered. This quiet loss is not marked by dramatic scenes or loud declarations. It is found in the small, often unnoticed pauses. A silent morning when there's no comforting message waiting, or an evening when memories of shared moments echo in the stillness. They find themselves comparing these moments with the past and realize that what you gave was far more precious than anything that has come since. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." True strength comes from understanding that real value is not something you can demand or force. It is a quiet force, felt deeply in the absence of the familiar and irreplaceable presence you once provided. Think of it like a lighthouse on a stormy night. When its light is always shining, it becomes a normal part of the landscape, a constant guide that no one pays much attention to. But if that light were to vanish, even for a moment, the ships at sea would feel lost in the darkness, realizing just how much they depended on that steady beacon. Your presence was that light, a steady, reassuring guide that kept them safe. And now that the light is gone, the darkness makes everything painfully clear. They might ask, is this just a phase? Will things ever feel the same? The answer is found in the quiet spaces where memories live. The slow unfolding of time reveals that what was once taken for granted is, in fact, a rare gift, something that can never be duplicated by new, fleeting encounters. That gift was you. In the silence, every empty space of their day, every moment when the familiar comfort is missing, serves as a reminder. True worth is not measured by constant presence, but by the lasting impact you leave behind. This understanding isn't forced upon them. It grows naturally as the echo of your absence fills every corner of their life. Over time, they learn that not all gifts in life are meant to be taken for granted. The absence of your steady, caring nature teaches them that real value is eternal, even when it is no longer visible. They come to see that genuine care, respect, and love are irreplaceable, and that sometimes the most important lessons are learned not in the noise of life, but in the quiet moments where memories whisper the truth. 3. The more you see, the less you value. Think about the last time you truly appreciated something that was always there. A warm hug, a good morning text, or simply knowing that someone was ready to listen when needed. When something is always available, its value fades away. It's human nature. The more you have of something, the less you notice it. This simple truth holds true for relationships as well. When you were always there, texting, calling, showing up, your presence became expected. It lost its special weight, not because you weren't important, but because familiarity breeds comfort, and comfort can turn into complacency. They assumed you would always be there, just as you always had been. But the moment you pull away, everything shifts. The absence starts to settle in, and suddenly the attention they once ignored becomes noticeable. The small moments, like the way you remembered their favorite coffee order, or the way you listened when they needed to vent, begin to echo in their mind. They may start to wonder, why do I feel this emptiness now? Did I take you for granted? It's the paradox of human desire. We rarely treasure something until it begins to slip away. Distance, it turns out, can speak louder than presence. When something is constant, we assume it will always be there. But once it's taken away, we are forced to see what it truly meant to us. Think of it like the warmth of the sun. When the sun shines every day, its light is easy to overlook. But during a long winter, when the sun is hidden behind clouds, its absence is deeply felt. Or consider a beautiful painting on a wall. When it is there every day, we hardly notice it. But if it were removed, the emptiness of the blank space would remind us of the art we once admired. In the same way, the love and care you offered every day seemed ordinary, until you were gone, and they realized how much they had relied on it. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." True strength comes from understanding that value isn't measured by constant attention, but by the impact you leave behind when you're not there. They may ask themselves, "Did I really see what I had?" Or, "Was I blind to your true worth?" These questions echo in the quiet moments of their day. They might try to fill the void with new faces or distractions, but nothing compares to the unique feeling you brought into their life. The conversations with others, the new experiences, they simply don't have the same depth. It's a hard lesson. When someone's always there, we don't truly value them. But once they step away, every moment shared, every thoughtful gesture, becomes a powerful reminder of what we lost. A wise person once said, "Absence makes the heart grow fonder," and indeed, in your absence, the truth becomes clear. Appreciation often arrives too late. Only after you have stepped back does the real value of your presence shine through. This isn't about playing games or manipulating emotions. It's about self-respect. A person who knows their worth doesn't have to demand constant attention. Instead, they trust that the quality of what they offer will be felt even in their silence. 4. When the calm falls apart, they believed they were independent, that they didn't need anyone. Yet in those quiet moments, when the excitement of daily distractions fades and nothing pulls them in 100 different directions, they feel an unexpected loss. It isn't just missing your presence, it's realizing that the emotional stability they took for granted came from you. You weren't just another person in their life. You were the calm in the storm, the steady force that made them feel safe, even when they never openly admitted it. And now that you're gone, they're left alone with thoughts that echo in the silence. They begin to question everything. Did they truly want to push you away, or did they simply assume you would always be there? Perhaps they chased the illusion of something better, believing they had endless options. But then the silence grew louder. They find themselves reaching for their phone, hesitating before sending a message they know will only remind them of your absence. Deep down, they're beginning to understand. Your presence wasn't just comforting, it was rare. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight." While a wise person accepts change as part of life, not everyone is ready for it. When you walked away, you embraced life's natural flow, understanding that sometimes detachment is the only path to self-respect. Meanwhile, they are now forced to wrestle with the consequences of that change. They thought they had control, but they now see that control was merely an illusion. You never clung desperately. You were willing to leave, not out of spite, but as a statement of your own worth. And that is why the loss feels so profound. They believed that another person, another moment of fleeting attention, could fill the gap you left behind. But nothing compares to the depth of what you provided. A person of true value doesn't simply vanish. They leave behind an echo, a memory that lingers, a weight that no one else can lift. As the silence stretches on, they slowly understand that they didn't just lose someone, they lost you, and that loss is irreplaceable. There is no philosophy or comforting Stoic lesson that can soften this harsh reality. They must sit with the truth, just as you once sat with your own lessons. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself. A person who understands their own worth does not beg, plead, or seek constant validation. They give their presence freely, but never at the cost of their dignity. And, when they choose to leave, they do so without resentment, knowing that their silence teaches lessons that words never could." Imagine a mighty river flowing every day. When its waters are constant, the river seems ordinary, almost taken for granted. But when the river dries up, even briefly, the barren riverbed reveals the true value of the flowing water. Your presence was like that steady stream, essential, life-giving and constant. Now that the flow has stopped, the empty bed speaks volumes about what was once abundant and vital. Have they ever felt the full impact of your absence? Do they wonder why reaching out feels so wrong when nothing can replace the warmth you brought? In the quiet, as they sift through memories, they begin to see that true value is felt not in constant chatter, but in the deep, resonating echo of absence. If this message speaks to you, please take a moment to reflect on your own experiences. Remember, a person of presence leaves behind an echo that lasts far longer than any moment of noise. Your story matters, and your strength lies in knowing your worth. If you feel this truth, consider liking and subscribing to stay connected, and share your thoughts below. Let your voice be the echo that reminds everyone. A true presence is never forgotten. 5. The unexpected return of curiosity. They once believed that independence meant never really needing anyone. When something is always around, a warm hug, a good morning text, or just the quiet knowledge that someone is there, it becomes part of the background. Over time, its value fades into the noise of everyday life. But when that presence disappears, a powerful force awakens: curiosity. At first, they might not notice the change. Their days continue with laughter, distractions, and new faces filling the space. Yet slowly, as the buzz of the world quiets down, questions begin to echo in their mind. What is happening now? Where have they gone? Who are they with? Have they truly moved on? In that moment, control slips away as the reality of loss sets in. The absence is no longer just a gap. It becomes a mirror reflecting what was once taken for granted. They start to realize that you were never merely a passive part of their life. You were the steady force that shaped their everyday experience. Your presence brought comfort, security, and meaning, things that no fleeting distraction can replace. It's like a favorite song played on repeat. When it's always there, it fades into the background. But when the music stops, the silence is overwhelming and every note is missed. This sudden return of curiosity is a lesson in itself. It is not born out of manipulation or anger, but from the deep truth that genuine presence is irreplaceable. A Stoic person understands that the strength of self-sufficiency lies in being comfortable in one's own world. They know that mystery fuels attraction, and that sometimes the most profound impact is made not by constant display, but by the power of absence. They begin to question, did I truly see what I had? Was my trust misplaced in thinking that I didn't need you? These thoughts are unsettling. The void you left forces a hard look at every moment once shared. It becomes clear that the care and attention given freely were not routine. They were rare gifts. As Seneca wisely noted, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. In this case, the lesson is to cherish what is precious before it slips away into silence. Imagine a garden filled with vibrant flowers. When every petal is in full bloom, the beauty seems ordinary. But if the garden is left untended and the blossoms vanish, the stark emptiness reveals the true wonder that once was. Similarly, your constant presence was like that flourishing garden, so common it was overlooked. But once it fades, every memory of its beauty grows stronger, every detail more poignant. The unexpected return of curiosity shows that absence can speak louder than words. It teaches that sometimes what is taken for granted only gains its value when it is no longer within reach. It is not about playing hard to get or creating mystery for its own sake. It's about allowing the truth of what once was to shine in the quiet moments. In the end, they learn that a true presence isn't measured by routine or expectation, but by the lasting impact it leaves behind. The silent space you create is not a mark of rejection. It is a powerful reminder of what was once cherished. Your absence sparks a deep, sometimes painful curiosity that transforms ordinary days into moments of reflection. And with that reflection comes a clear, undeniable truth. The extraordinary is found not in constant visibility, but in the lingering echo of what has been missed. 6. When you walk away, waves follow. It isn't always a dramatic moment that makes the impact. Often it's the slow erosion of everyday routine, the little things that go unnoticed until they're gone. They never really thought about the way you made them laugh at just the right moment, or the sound of your voice that offered reassurance even when it blended into the background. Yet now, in the quiet after you've left, every detail stands out in a way that is both striking and unsettling. They once believed they had all the power, thinking they could move on without a second thought. But as the days pass, something shifts. They go about their usual routine, yet an unexplainable emptiness tugs at the edges of their heart. The inside jokes that once filled silent pauses now only highlight the void, and the small, almost forgotten moments, like how you instinctively reached out to offer comfort in a crowded room, or how your presence made every situation feel a bit more secure, suddenly become impossible to ignore. This isn't something you forced on them. You didn't beg, manipulate, or plead. You simply walked away with quiet confidence, and that choice set off a ripple effect they weren't prepared for. People rarely appreciate what they have until it's gone, and no matter how self-assured or independent they seem, the comfort of a steady presence is something that leaves an indelible mark on the heart. Now, as they try to fill the space with new distractions, late-night texts that go unanswered, fleeting conversations that lack the depth of your words, they begin to ask themselves, was it really that easy to replace? Why does my phone stay silent when it used to buzz with your messages? Did I take for granted the warmth of knowing you were always there? These questions cut deep, for they slowly reveal that the security and certainty you once provided were never ordinary. They were a rare gift, something that made the world seem a little less uncertain. Consider the image of a calm lake on a sunny day. When the water is still, its beauty is taken for granted. But when a single stone is thrown, ripples spread across the surface, drawing attention to the hidden depths beneath. Your departure was like that stone, a small act that set off waves of realization. The laughter, the comfort, the shared moments of understanding, each ripple serves as a reminder of what has been lost. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The obstacle on the path becomes the path." In this case, the obstacle is the void your absence creates. It forces them to see what they once overlooked and to face the truth that nothing in life is permanent. Your steady presence, taken for granted for so long, now echoes loudly in every quiet moment. The impact of your absence speaks volumes, louder than any conversation could. They are left to grapple with the unexpected power of loss. It isn't about anger or regret. It's about a deep, resonant shift in understanding. Real power isn't in clinging or controlling. It lies in the ability to let go without fear. The silent void you created shows them that some things cannot be replaced by mere words or empty promises. So, as they sit with the weight of your absence, they may finally begin to understand that true value is revealed only when it is missing. It's a hard lesson, one that no amount of distractions or superficial interactions can erase. And while you never had to convince them of your worth, life, through the quiet echo of your departure, teaches that lesson in the most profound way possible. If these words strike a chord within you, take a moment to reflect on the impact of presence and absence in your own life. Remember, sometimes the most powerful lessons come not from what is there, but from what is no longer present. 7. Social proof works against them. They once believed they were the prize, convinced that their control over you was absolute. Now, the tables have turned. Others see your true value. You aren't broken or desperate, waiting around for them. You're thriving, and the reality they once ignored is impossible to deny. You were never dependent on them. They were just a part of your world, not its center. They assumed that you would always chase after them, that you'd linger in their orbit, hoping for another chance. Instead, you vanished from their life like a ghost. Not out of anger, not in desperation, but with quiet, unshakable confidence. That single act of walking away has set off a ripple effect they never saw coming. Suddenly, the weight of their choices presses down on them, and doubt begins to creep in. They start to question, did I misjudge you? Did I assume you'd crumble without me? Because right now, it looks like you're doing better than ever. And that realization hits harder than any argument, any confrontation, or any desperate plea ever could. It's the silence that speaks the loudest. Your absence, once dismissed as a relief, has become an unexpected void, a space that forces them to confront the truth. In that silence, every moment of neglect and every assumption they made about your dependence shatters. They never truly had you under their control. It was all an illusion, a fragile lie that broke the moment you embraced your worth. A wise soul once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good person should be one." And when you live by that truth, when you focus on growing stronger, wiser, and more disciplined, the world naturally takes notice. Your value doesn't fade when you walk away. If anything, it becomes even clearer. Distance has a way of magnifying what was once taken for granted. They begin to compare the fleeting attention offered by others to the genuine presence you once provided. Yet, no one else carries your quiet strength or your unyielding self-assurance. Imagine a lighthouse standing tall amid a storm. When its light is constant, passers-by may take it for granted, barely noticing its steady glow. But when that light dims or disappears, the absence is felt with a piercing clarity. Your departure was much like that, subtle yet powerful, leaving behind ripples that spread far beyond what they ever expected. Other faces might catch their eye, but none can replicate the deep comfort and unwavering confidence you exuded. Those who chase are weighed down by their need for constant validation, while you, by stepping away without hesitation, have demonstrated that true power lies in self-respect. This is when the sting sets in. They finally see that they never truly had power over you. The control they believed they wielded was nothing more than a mirage, shattered the moment you stopped seeking their approval. And now they feel the loss, not when you begged for their attention, not when you tried to convince them of your worth, but when you simply disappeared and thrived without a backward glance. Your greatest strength isn't in proving them wrong, it's in proving to yourself that you were always enough, independent, complete, and thriving with or without them. As the ripples of your absence continue to spread, they're left with one undeniable truth. Genuine value isn't dictated by proximity or constant presence. It's measured by the impact you leave behind when you're gone. If these words resonate with you, take a moment to reflect on the power of walking away with dignity. True worth stands tall even in silence, and sometimes the most profound lessons are learned not through clamor, but in the quiet echo of absence. Stay strong, remain unshaken, and remember that your worth is never up for debate. 8. Regret arrives. Too late. Regret doesn't strike all at once. It creeps in slowly, a quiet whisper at first, an unsettling thought in the back of their mind. Maybe, just maybe, they made a mistake. At first, they brush it off, telling themselves they made the right choice. They keep busy, surround themselves with noise, distractions, and new experiences, convincing themselves that life is better this way. But emotions don't follow commands. They don't vanish just because someone wishes them away. Instead, they appear in the still moments, in the spaces where your presence used to be. One night, they find themselves staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep, and for the first time they wonder, did I act too soon? Did I misjudge them? Did I let go of something irreplaceable? The weight of those questions lingers, settling into their thoughts like a slow-moving storm. At first, it's subtle. They hear a song that reminds them of you, and instead of skipping it, they listen. They pass by a place where you once shared a conversation, and suddenly the memory feels sharper than it should. The flaws they once fixated on don't seem important anymore. The little things they once brushed off, the way you listened, the way you showed up, the way your presence made everything feel more stable, start to feel like missing puzzle pieces. This is the irony of loss. It teaches through distance. The comfort of certainty is gone, and now they see you through a different lens. When something is always there, it's easy to overlook. But once it's gone, its absence becomes impossible to ignore. They may have believed they were moving forward without hesitation, but now they are looking back, not out of curiosity, but out of realization. By the time they begin to understand your value, you are already somewhere else. That is why walking away with dignity is your greatest power. The one who clings, who chases, who begs to be seen, only diminishes themselves. But the one who walks away with quiet certainty, who embraces the truth that nothing lasts forever, becomes unforgettable. People remember those who knew when to leave, those who never had to prove their worth because their absence spoke for them. Think of a painting in a museum. As long as it remains on the wall, people walk past it every day, barely noticing it. But if that painting were suddenly removed, if an empty space were left behind, only then would people stop and realize what had once been there. Absence forces appreciation in ways that presence never can. When you withdraw your energy, you create space, not for manipulation, not for games, but for truth. Space for them to sit with their own choices, to feel the weight of what they once took for granted. And in that space, regret is born. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about others. It is not theirs to guide you." A person who understands their worth does not wait to be appreciated. They do not beg for recognition. They know their value with or without it. And that is when it happens. The regret grows, not in a single moment, but in many, when silence replaces once familiar conversations, when they catch themselves expecting a message that never comes, when they realize they let go of something that was never ordinary. But by then, the story has already changed. Because you are no longer waiting for them to notice, you are already gone. 9. Regret comes too late, and by then, you're already gone. Regret doesn't strike like lightning. It doesn't crash down all at once. Instead, it builds slowly, creeping in through the cracks of distraction. At first, it's just a fleeting thought, one they quickly push aside. Maybe I made the right choice. They tell themselves they feel free, that they are moving forward, that nothing has changed. But emotions don't follow commands. They don't disappear just because someone wants them to. Then one night, when the world quiets down, it happens. A memory resurfaces. A conversation they barely paid attention to at the time, but now replays with perfect clarity. The flaws they once focused on seem insignificant. The small gestures they once dismissed now feel irreplaceable. The way you listened, the way you understood, the way your presence gave them a sense of stability, none of it was ordinary, and now they see that. But they see it too late. This is the irony of loss. We rarely recognize the value of something until it's missing. They once assumed they had all the power, that they could move forward without hesitation, but now they are looking back, questioning everything. Did I misjudge them? Did I act too soon? Did I let go of something I'll never find again? The weight of those questions lingers, growing heavier with each passing day. But by the time they truly understand, you're already somewhere else. That's why walking away with dignity is your greatest power. The person who begs, who clings, who chases, only diminishes themselves. But the one who moves forward, who embraces change, who understands that not everyone will appreciate them in time, that person becomes unforgettable. Think of a lighthouse standing tall against a storm. When its light is constant, it's easy to ignore. But when that light vanishes, the darkness is overwhelming. Your presence was that guiding light. Now that it's gone, they feel the void, and nothing they do can fill it the same way. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about others. It is not theirs to guide you." A person who knows their worth does not wait for someone else to recognize it. They do not beg for appreciation. They continue forward, knowing that the absence of their presence speaks louder than words ever could. And that's when the regret sets in. Not when you argued, not when you tried to make them see your value, but when you simply walked away and never looked back. When silence replaced your words, when mystery replaced predictability, when distance made them realize that not everyone is replaceable. By then, the story has already changed. You're no longer standing still, waiting to be noticed. You are already gone. If this message speaks to you, let it be your reminder. You do not need to prove your worth to anyone. Those who fail to appreciate it now will understand later, but by then, you'll have moved on to something greater. Hit the like button, subscribe for more powerful insights, and if you're ready to step into your true strength, comment below. I know my worth. Let this be the moment you stop waiting and start walking forward.